Chapter 5. Bonds. Everyone moved into position and waited for the lookouts to sound their horns, signaling that the enemy was upon them. Yada and Elena went to the front. Yada looked at the warriors with her and gave out commands.
I will draw most of the attention, so there is no need to get greedy and try to be a hero. Who among you are defensive fighters?
2 men and a young lady raised their hands.
Good. You will watch our flanks and set the enemy up for open attacks from the others. There are only 9 of us, so we will have to be disciplined and work together. Everyone's job is to pick off the enemies in your area and your area alone. Keep 3 paces between each other. Eventually, the enemy will avoid our unit altogether, so we will have to move together. Stay tight when we move. With Nibiri and Gasha, I doubt we even lose 1 life in this battle. Don't leave our unit for anyone. Let Gasha deal with anyone who gets past us. If I enter into combat with a formidable foe, I will give one of you my job. Any questions?
They all shook their heads.
Good. Now, we wait. Elena, I know you are probably not used to fighting in open areas with a large group, but you have to be smart if Nibiri chose you as his daughter. So I'm trusting him concerning you. Nibiri is trusting me with you, so don't worry about death. You'll not meet her today. Does any one of you have a dunamis or any useful abilities in battle that I need to know about?
The largest man in their group stepped forward. My head is as hard as steel. I use it as a defense. I can take swords, spears, and a mace to it with ease. The female defensive fighter spoke up as well. I can release a bright flash of light from my eyes to disrupt the enemy's sight. It only works on someone who is close to me and looking me in my eyes.
Fantastic. Anyone else? What about you, Elena?
I can dash with great speed at short distances. I appear as a blur when I do so.
Elena said.
Vertical as well? Yes, I can. Vertical as well.
Show me.
Yada said as she raised her sword to block. Elena took several steps back and dashed towards Yada with blinding speed, appearing as a black blur. Her blade clashed with Yada's. Yada nodded with approval. Elena sheathed her sword, and the rest of the group cheered and clapped. Everyone separated and moved into position. Elena approached Yada to have a word with her.
What is all that Nibiri can do? He talks to animals, sees the future, and heals poison. I've seen him fight, and he wasn't very impressive. Why does a great warrior like you follow him? Are you his guard?
Who is he fighting?
Yada asked.
Me?
Elena replied. Yada smiled.
And he lived.
I know, but it was because I underestimated him, and I didn't know he could heal himself of the poison dagger I put in him. I would have killed him had I known.
Yada smiled at Elena and responded.
I'll answer both of your questions. First of all, he didn't heal himself of the poison on your dagger. He's immune to all poisons and toxins. It's one of the perks that come with belonging to the Order of Hagios. However, he can heal others and himself, but doing so drains him. The more severe the injury, the more it costs him. That cost runs from slight weakness to exhaustion, all the way up to death. He can also enhance others' abilities and dunimai. With one touch from him, I can have increased strength or speed. You can dash greater distances or jump higher. He can increase whatever he wants. That is why Gasha put her weakest fighters with Nibiri, because he will amplify all of their strength, speed, agility, durability, and keep them alive by healing them. So even the weakest fighters become dangerous when Nibiri is with them. I wouldn't put it past him to have other abilities that he hasn't let me know about. He likes to be mysterious. He is also the person who taught Gasha most of what she knows about battle tactics and strategy. Although she is almost his equal as a tactician, She is nowhere near his ability as a strategist. And there is a difference between strategy and tactics. That's why they are almost unbeatable together.
What's the difference?
Tactics are the fine individual details. The concept of strategy is the overall picture. Tactics and strategy are like two different views of the same place. Tactics are the view from the ground, and strategy is the view from the mountain.
So you're saying that Nibiri lost to me on purpose?
The reason why you didn't kill him in your battle is because you couldn't. Nibiri uses the fact that people underestimate him against them. Don't let his gentle nature fool you. You could fight him 50 more times and you would lose 50 times. He has the greatest mind I know. I am not his bodyguard, but I will protect him with my life because he does the same for me. I was raised in battle. I am a warrior first. Nibiri, on the other hand, hates confrontation altogether. He is a man of harmony and a unifier of people. He doesn't fight unless there is no other option. I fight for him so he does not have to. I've seen him defeat entire clans without a single ounce of bloodshed. I bet he doesn't even draw his weapons once during this battle. He will strengthen the fighters around him and watch Gasha give out orders.
Yada was interrupted by the sound of horns echoing in the distance.
Those horns are too far away. Look to the skies, Yada!
Gasha yelled from the rear. Silence fell on the entire camp as all eyes focused on the clouds.
Archers, look straight ahead. I need your eyes on the ground,
commanded Gasha. In the distance, two large boulders flew towards them, and a third further behind. Elena wanted to move, but Yada did not give the order to do so. The former first princess of Shemayim stood there without flinching, with her purple eyes of valor. Elena looked at the others in her group, and then everyone else in the clan. No one moved. Two of the boulders traveled close together and were headed straight towards Gasha and her unit. The last boulder traveled further behind and was headed for Yada's unit. Elena began to grow nervous and locked her eyes on Yada so she could be ready when Yada gave the order to dodge.
Will she have us wait until the last minute? Will she have us move left or right, maybe forward or backward? What does everyone else know that I do not?
She thought to herself. Gasha's unit all kneeled, while Gasha remained standing. Elena was confused and extremely nervous for Nibiri, but also for herself. Gasha's arm began to glow of the same sunflower yellow light that it did earlier. She stretched out her arm towards the incoming boulders, and her shield grew rapidly until it was at least 10 feet in diameter. It was a sight to behold. Gasha bent her knees and strengthened her stance. The massive rocks crashed into Gasha's shield and broke into several pieces. Her arm barely moved. This beautiful shield absorbed the force of those enormous rocks with ease. Elena's eyes turned to the boulder gliding towards her. Yada unsheathed her sword, jumped forward at an angle, and leaped straight up. She reached 5 feet with little effort. She let the boulder pass her, then swung her sword with one arm, emitting a powerful gust of wind that blew the huge boulder off course and into the trees. Before Yada could land, the roar of Clan Micah was followed by movement in the trees. The enemy was upon them.
They used the rocks to get our attention so they could get into better position. Stand your ground! Eyes in front of you, not to the heavens!
Gasha yelled. Yada landed and let out a war cry as she struck down enemies before her with ease. She moved with such grace and fluidity that Elena was in awe. A large man with an axe bared down upon Yada. She bent down and launched forward, forcing her sword through the man's belly, using her great strength to lift her sword along with him in the air.
Elena!
Yada yelled. Elena quickly dashed forward and sliced at the next opponent's legs, and Yada threw the man into the crowd of warriors. She drew the attention of the bulk of the opposing clan. Elena and Yada wounded enemies and sent them behind to the other fighters in the unit. They functioned like a machine. The enemies began to avoid Yada's unit and charged the left flank. Aaron and his men were eagerly waiting for them. Aaron's size made him intimidating. Aaron wielded 2 massive steel rods in battle. He had great strength, along with a dunamis that was extremely useful in battle. The bones in his hands and forearms were nearly unbreakable. He still felt pain, and his skin, ligaments, and tendons could be ripped and torn, but not his bones. As long as he could suffer through the pain, he could block swords with his hands and arms and not break a bone. It would take a lot of weight and force to break them. He blocked sword after sword with 1 steel rod and struck enemies down with the other. Enemies began to pass or avoid Yada and head for Gasha's unit. Nibiri grabbed the arm of Gasha, and out of his hands flowed power into her that greatly increased her striking speed. Gasha's eyes rolled to the back of her head, and she inhaled deeply through her nose and exhaled with a loud, robust sigh, followed by a scream.
Ah!
The feeling was euphoric. Nibiri slightly amplified the abilities of everyone in his group as he saw fit. Before the battle, he did the same to the archers to increase their draw strength. Gasha held her shield in front of her face. It functioned similar to a one-way mirror, allowing her to see through the shield while blocking the view of her foe. She simply blocked with her shield and pierced through her enemies' torsos. One after the other, she cut them down. They were no match for her. She fought with precision and unflinching confidence, and her people loved her for it. As Gasha's archers finished the last of their archers, they started to create a divide in Clan Micah's ranks. Yada's unit funneled them towards Gasha's unit to their death. The sound of metal clashing and intense screams of pain and fury echoed throughout the forest. Clan Gasha and her allies quickly began to gain the upper hand, so Clan Micah's second-in-command, Shinnok, entered the battle and headed straight for Aaron. Electricity danced violently on Shinnok's long sword. He was a tall, thin man with dark olive skin and a bald head. He and Aaron locked eyes. Aaron stood a few inches over 6 feet tall, and Shinnok was tall enough to look him eye to eye.
Stay here and hold the flank,
Aaron ordered while he walked towards Shinnok. As the 2 men approached each other, everything seemed to slow down except for them. It was as if they were on a battlefield of their own. A deeper level of somberness blanketed the area, and everyone on the battlefield looked out of the corner of their eyes to keep track of this bout. It was clear that there would be no retreating, no interfering, and no rescuing. One of them would die. Aaron swung one of his rods and was met by Shinnok's sword. Electricity jumped onto Aaron's arm, and he winced from the pain. It was more painful than he had anticipated. Aaron swung his other rod, trying to cave Shinnok's chest in, but Shinnok shifted his weight and slid his sword with him to block Aaron's rod. The electricity kissed Aaron's face, and he closed his eyes while turning his head away. Shinnok kicked Aaron in the gut and moved in for the kill. Aaron managed to block the strike, but the electricity was too much for Aaron. Aaron screamed in agony as he dropped the rod. Shinnok quickly kicked the rod away and went in for another strike. Aaron tried to block with his other rod, but could not make it in time. Shinnok's blade of lightning cut straight into Aaron's arm, ripping through his flesh like a hot knife through butter. Aaron let out another scream of pain. Rather than back away, Aaron managed to dislodge the sword from his arm and, without thinking twice, grabbed the sword with his bare hand, the same hand that was attached to the arm of torn, burnt flesh. Aaron gritted his teeth and struck Shinnok in his right knee with his rod, snapping his leg. Shinnok released his sword and fell to the ground. Aaron relentlessly stood to his feet and brought his steel rod down upon Shinnok's head, ending his life.
Stay here.
Gasha commanded as she ran to Aaron's side. At this, the rest of Clan Micah appeared from the west and charged the left flank with vengeance, led by Micah himself. Micah's reinforcement archers began firing, and Gasha yelled,
To me, Clan Aaron.
Gasha blocked the arrows with her shield of soft yellow light and waited for them to fire again. At this, Yada gave command of her unit to the warrior with the flinty head and propelled herself forward with wind from a swing of her sword. Once she landed, she leaped in the air and swung her sword, blowing the archers back and charging the enemy alone. She parried the strikes of 2 men at once, then ran her blade through the chest of one before quickly pulling it out and piercing the neck of the other. Micah saw that he was losing and thought about retreating. While Yada's sword was still in a man's throat, she was shot in the belly by an arrow. Micah saw an opportunity to attack Yada. He threw a poisoned knife at her stomach, but Yada blocked it with her sword and jumped back to regroup with the rest of the clan. Micah was at a crossroad. Retreat or fight a losing battle? He had no idea that Yada and Aaron would be with Clan Gasha, so he was not ready for them. Gasha was enough trouble all by herself. Seeing Micah's hesitation was all that a master tactician like Gasha needed to seal the victory.
Micah!
Gasha yelled.
My fighters are tired. We have been training and traveling for weeks now. Aaron is badly injured and we seem to be evenly matched. So why don't we just finish this ourselves? Just you and me.
Micah angrily assessed the situation as Gasha continued.
What's there to think about? We are both clan leaders and bound by clan law. Leader against leader. Winner takes all. Men and land. Or are you frozen in fear of little ol' me in front of your brave warriors? Stand like a leader and face me, coward.
It was a tradition amongst the rebel clans to have either their most skilled warrior or the leaders from each clan fight to the death. This avoided the need for mass loss of life. Very well, Gasha. You have your wish. I invite you to your death. When I kill you, do I get the Shemayamean warrior as well?
Yes, she will be under your command.
Gasha answered. That's all I need to hear. Micah grinned.
I didn't think it would be that easy to bait him.
Gasha whispered to Yada.
Be careful, Gasha. You'd better win.
Yada frowned.
Piece of cake.
Nabiri moved to the front so he could watch the battle. Gasha ran full speed at Micah with her shield raised in front of her and her short sword ready to strike. Micah threw 2 poisoned daggers at her legs, testing her agility. Gasha simply moved to the side and kept coming. Gasha's combat style was based on using the simplest movements to preserve energy. Yet she fought with incredible aggression. Gasha swung her sword downward so she could guide Micah towards her shield. He dodged her strike with a sidestep and played right into Gasha's hand. She hit him with a swift shield bash, staggering him. She then followed that with a thrust aimed at his chest. Micah parried with his sword and connected an elbow to the pretty face of Gasha. Angered, she attempted to kick Micah's shin with the intent to return the favor by greeting his face with her shield after her kick left him off-balanced. Neither happened, as he stabbed her thigh with a dagger laced with his potent poison. Knowing that her increased heart rate would accelerate the effect of the poison, she only had about 2 minutes to live. Micah backed away, hoping to wait things out on the defensive, while Gasha dropped dead from his poison. What he didn't know was that this was Gasha's plan the entire time. Normally, she would never fight an opponent as deadly as Micah in such an aggressive manner. However, this wasn't a normal situation. Nabiri was with her, and he could heal her. Gasha slowly approached Micah with her shield expanded to cover the entire upper half of her body. Micah could only see her legs, but Gasha could see through her shield and studied Micah closely. She readied her sword and kept her shield up until she was in striking range. All Micah had to do was dodge as soon as her shield dropped, so he wasn't worried at all. Gasha thrusted towards her shield. Unable to see the attack, Micah simply stood there defending. As her sword neared her shield as if she would strike the inside of it, the shield vanished at the exact moment it would have connected. Gasha's sword pierced through the warm air around it. Micah was surprised, but he had no time to react. Gasha drove her blade straight through his heart and plowed him to the ground. He gasped and let out his last words.
We will swallow the north, then Dhurna. We have allies where we need them.
He smiled while motioning his index and middle fingers forward before taking his last breath. At this, one of his archers fired an arrow of flames to the heavens, and the rest of the archers of Clan Micah rained arrows on Clan Gasha, then retreated.
To me!
Gasha screamed with fear in her voice. She did not want to see the death of her clan members. Everyone ran towards her as she expanded her shield to its maximum diameter of 12 feet. Nibiri healed Gasha's injuries and nullified the poison with one hand, while enhancing her dunamis with the other. Gasha's shield grew 3 times greater, allowing her to cover more of the people she cared for. Elena and the rest of the frontline fighters were not able to make it to Gasha in time, so Yada ran to them with great haste. Elena was ahead of the rest because of her dashing ability, but she was not in the clear. Yada swung her sword, blowing away most of the arrows meant for them with her command of the wind, while taking multiple arrows in her back. An arrow managed to hit Elena in the right knee, and she dropped to the ground in pain. Another pierced her kidney. Gasha put away her shield and shifted her attention to the 3 boulders flying in. One boulder would miss everyone entirely. One was heading a few feet from Gasha, so she employed her shield again. Suddenly, Nibiri called out to Yada.
Yada!
He screamed as she looked at him.
Elena!
Elena was still on the ground as the final boulder headed for her. Yada had arrows deep in both of her shoulders and back. She could hardly lift her arms. Swinging her sword was not an option. Yada looked at Nibiri. She could see the desperation in his eyes.
Yada!
Nibiri screamed as his voice cracked and his eyes filled to the brim with tears ready to dive towards his cheeks. Yada mustered all the strength she had. Every ounce she could summon, she sent to her legs as she ran with everything towards Elena. Yada leaped in the air directly at the boulder and smashed into it to knock it off course. She grunted as she hit the ground with great force. The battle was over.
There's a yearning in me, there's a burning in me. I'm hoping for something more. My future is waiting patiently in front of me. I will